Welcome to PK Woodworking, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the questions I've been getting down and all the comments so far about the series on my saw, etc. So, couple of things. I'm not sponsored by anybody. Nobody's paying me money to buy a saw or giving me a saw for free. So that's out of the question. Why did I downgrade to this little saw? So um, here's the situation. My Felder Kappa 400 X Motion saw was rock solid, an amazing saw, and it was purely accurate. Had no issues with it whatsoever. Over the course of time, because I had bought it used, that it was missing some of the features that I probably would have ordered with it if I would have bought it new. Some of them I tried to add. I added a digital stop to the crosscut, which was amazing and worked really well. I realized you can't add any more stops really than 2 onto that saw. You can add the one that I did. I could add another one that was on the main area of that actual crosscut fence. But if you want to use the extension fence that extends far out, that one you really can't change to digital unless you ordered it that way originally. At least I don't know any other way to do that. And if you wanted to go by buying all the parts and making it work by buying all the parts, it'd be prohibitively expensive to do that. I also wanted a few other safety things on it. I wanted to get the LEDs into the main table right next to the scoring blade so that when the scoring blade is on, that you know it's on by those LEDs and you don't accidentally try to do something crazy and hurt yourself, because it's hard to see that scoring blade when it's so close to the table and spinning backward. And a few other things that I really wanted. If there was anything that I wanted better from my Kappa 400, would have probably been dust collection. I guess it's mediocre at best on that saw, but there's nothing wrong with it per se. It's just not great. And so I feel like I'm blessed that I can do all this stuff in my part-time thing that I'm doing now. And I decided to take my dad to the International Woodworking Fair again, which is in Atlanta every other year. And it's the biggest like woodworking kind of show that there is in North America. And so my goal was like, hey, if I'm going to think about getting a different saw, I want to look at every one of them, and I want to really take my blinders off, and I want to see every single brand that would appeal to me and decide what would work and what would not work. So the 4 that I really was looking at were Altendorf, Martin, SCM, and Felder. And in the midst of all that, there's some other brands that are there too, but they just aren't of the same, I would call, quality of those ones, in my opinion. And by the way, everything from here forward is straight up my opinion. So if you want to argue with me back and forth, it's just my opinion. So I visited the Altendorf booth first because I had actually sparked up a conversation with somebody from Altendorf before the show, because someone was selling a used Kappa 450 that was almost brand new from Felder, that had most of the features that I think I wanted on it, and I wanted to find out more about it. And come to find out that the person that was selling that Kappa 450 was a dealer for Altendorf that was selling it for a customer that was moving from that Felder to the Altendorf. And then I came to find out that I think that Felder had a shorter slider than 10 feet, which is kind of like what I wanted. So I said I would meet him there and talk to him about Altendorf, because he really was talking to me about Altendorf. So I spent about probably 45 minutes or so in the booth originally. And I told them exactly what I was looking for from like a perspective of like features. And they showed me to the person that does all of their training for the whole company, I think, for Europe, everything. And spent a lot of time with them, asking a lot of questions, got the answers that I wanted. And I think I realized that the saw didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do from the radio compensation part of the slider. And so, but I was still open-minded, because maybe it could work, whatever. So I went and looked at Martin, and Martin had the T66, which is one of their newer saws there. I had thought in my head that the T66 did radio compensation from the slider, but it does not. And you have to get the T77 to be able to get that. The T77 wasn't at the show, and they didn't tell me when it would be ready. And they showed me the previous version, which is a more than capable saw, I think the T70, that they were selling for a great price. If you know anything about Martin, Martin is very expensive in general woodworking stuff. So, but the quality is super high also. But again, this was like one of those things for me where I'm looking at the saw and it's really like maybe a 5 or 10-year-old saw. And I knew that they were replacing it with a new one. And you know, when you're buying something this expensive, you even think about resale. Even though I'm not probably ever going to resell them, who knows what would happen on one of these bigger machines. And so I'm thinking about that in the back of my head. The price that they gave me on that saw was exceptional. I thought a really good deal. And so then I moved on to go to Felder. And I have a really good friend that I call my friend who works for Felder. And he was super busy at the show. So I didn't really get to speak with him much, but I spoke with the other people that were showing off the saws. They had the Kappa 450, which was the saw that I was looking at from Felder, but it didn't have the features that you can get with it from the crosscut part of it. And so I really didn't get to see what it would look like when it had it. So, you know, it was hard for me to judge that way. But obviously no two ways about it, the Felder was going to be the value buy out of all of them, would be the least expensive. And I went to SCM and I visited SCM, and they had the Law Invincible SI3 there with the blade off technology. I'm not interested in any of the blade off technology. They had the hand guard at Altendorf, and then they have PCS at Felder. I'm not interested in any one of those three, not because I don't believe that they all could work or whatever. I think everybody wants to argue one's better than the other. It really doesn't matter to me. When you're buying one of these computerized machines like this, you're already worried about whether or not the thing's going to work 10, 20 years from now and replacing parts, etc. And I think I feel fairly comfortable about you know, going into the electrical cabinet of these machines and trying to understand what does and what doesn't work if something breaks. So I could get a technician to walk me through it. I can figure it out. Most of these machines, when you pop open these cabinets, most of the stuff is not proprietary inside of it, except maybe what's on the screens of some of them, I'm sure. Most of the things inside of them are Siemens parts and things like that where you can buy them anywhere and replace them. So those ones I'm comfortable with. But when you get to these blade off technologies, blade off or PCS from Felder, handguard, I think from Altendorf, it's not that I don't believe in them. They're relatively new technology for them. And I really don't want to be the tester for that. And then long term, what happens if one of those technologies, you know, doesn't work very well? And the investments on some of these bigger saws are a lot. I think it's about $10,000 extra to get it on a Felder. I don't know how much it was on the other machines because I didn't ask, because I wasn't really, you know, into buying them. So some people might say, oh, I get this saw because of this feature. Well, that feature didn't matter to me. And so during the course of the rest of the we were there for 2 days. The next day, we came back and we met with Altendorf again. And again, they were going to be aggressive and give me a great price. And they probably had the saws probably available. And so it made it really hard to make a decision between the three, like Martin, SCM, or between the four, sorry, Martin, SCM, Felder, Altendorf. It made it really hard to make a decision between the three of them. By the end of the time, I think I had set my mind on which one it would be, and worked up a deal with that particular company, and I thought it was a really, really strong offer. And I went with that one, and I think I signed for it a couple of days later. I didn't buy it at the show. I bought it a few days later. And then I had to, you know, sell my saw. And so, like, why would you sell it so soon? Well, I'm not willing to worry about or bank on when I'd be able to sell it. I think this new saw is going to come sometime in January, I'm hoping. And so I don't want to wait and then the saw not be, you know, popular. Somebody doesn't want to buy it during Christmas time or whatever. And so for me, I just put the saw up for sale like right away. And it took about 2 weeks total, I think, to sell the saw. And I think I got a fair price for what it was worth. And that's why I needed an interim saw in between. That's why I ended up getting this Felder that I'm doing this like refurb kind of project on right now, is because I need something from now, which is, you know, October through January. I need to be able to cut stuff and do things in here. So not only would it be cool to be able to like refurb something and get something back into somebody at the end of this when I can sell it off to somebody. I know it's a great saw that works great that I can sell to somebody and they'll get into maybe a slider for an affordable price. But it will also be great for me because I'll be able to, you know, have something to work with in the meantime. So not really willing to tell everybody like what I bought. I'm waiting to the end before I say that. So I know everybody keeps asking, what'd you buy? What'd you buy? What'd you buy? And I'm not going to say. Some people are trying to figure it out and think they've figured it out. I don't know that they've figured it out. So anyway, a few friends I've obviously told, but there's nobody that I'm like talking to out loud about it. So I just wanted to take that kind of and give you the idea of what I did and why I did it. And hopefully it makes sense. At least it makes sense to me. Probably doesn't make any monetary sense, but it makes sense to me. And the goal here is that, this is going to sound insane, but the goal here is that I would be able to get rid of big Capex station that I have like right behind me. The Capex station takes up a lot of space in the shop. It really does. And for one reason, I mean, you need it. Everybody needs a way to do crosscuts. Like that's just the way it is. And so, and then some people like also use them to be able to, you know, cut up their material as they come into the shop or whatever. So with the new saw that I'm getting, because it's got more features on the crosscut part of it, and it's got digital stops and they're radio compensated, so that if you're doing a cut that's beyond a 90-degree cut, that you still know what the dimensions are. Well, that really makes it better than what I have right now currently, because what I have right now currently is all analog and it takes up a ton of space. So why duplicate it in a shop that's only 990 square feet? I'd rather have this space back. So the goal is that when I get this new saw, that this whole space behind me would go away. So hold on, I'm going to switch this around real quick. Okay, so this is kind of a mess right now. But what that would afford me is that I would have this whole space right here that would not have something there. I'd have to relocate these drawers for these, all of my fasteners, which is no big deal. I already have a ton of other fasteners I have to figure out where to put somewhere. So that's something I'm going to do anyway. I'm not going to get rid of my Capex. I'll just put it in something way more mobile so that if I need it, I can get it out, use it, do what I need to do, and then I can put it away somewhere where it's not taking up all this space all the time. And then I would really end up taking my joiner planer combo and I'd be able to pull it back into the shop a little bit farther and then move it a little bit deeper into the shop. It still has to be somewhat where it's at with the Felder, dust collector there, because it's kind of in the way until I decide I'm going to have to put that outside somewhere. But then I'd be able to take like my other machines that I've acquired over the last bit, and I'd be able to get them on this side, because most of these new machines aren't 220. They're 100. Some of them are 110 volts, so it would be easy to stick them over here, and it's no big deal. So that's the end goal, and that's part of why not the reason why I wanted to change saws, but it's one of the benefits of being able to make this change, that I think I can get back all of this real estate and hopefully make for a more efficient layout to the shop. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Anyways, I ranted for a long time in this. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, but thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. We're getting close to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which would be awesome. Or a little over 900, but not that it's going to do anything for me, but it just would be cool, a cool moment in time. So I appreciate every one of you for watching. Thanks a lot. And I've got part 2 of the restoration of that saw going on right now. And as soon as I get all the parts in from Felder and I can get them all on, I will make that video and get it out. Thanks for watching.